longest minute.
Well, I was just saying it, BOC, same thing, everybody's talking, and it's 59, everybody's like, I don't want to be that one at 6 o'clock when it flips over to be talking.
Breaking the norm.
Thank you. Cold, dark, and rain.
Good evening. I'd like to call to order the January 7th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for Columbia County. If you'll stand, Commissioner Futch will lead us in the invocation, and I will lead in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Bow our heads. Heavenly Father, thank you.
Pledge allegiance, flag, United States of America, Republic, one nation, God, for all. We have 3 commissioners present, so we have a quorum. Chair and Commissioner Wilder are taking some caution. They haven't tested positive, but they may have been in contact. And so to be cautious, we asked them to pass on the meeting tonight, and so we're gonna forge ahead without them. We need to go ahead and take a vote on the approval of the previous meeting minutes.
Chairman, I approve the minutes.
Second? Second. All in favor? All right, minutes from the previous meeting are approved. We do need to approve the agenda. I think we have one item to add.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have individual plat to add. Individual plat for Raleigh Estate. Raleigh Estate.
We're going to put that in at item H2E2. Okay? Second?
Second.
Okay. So we'll approve the minutes or approve the agenda with the added item. All
So
right,
moved.
all in favor? Okay, didn't approve. All right, y'all can tell I don't do this all the time, but we're gonna run through it. All right, before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to clarify the Planning Commission is a recommending body to the Columbia County Board of Commissioners. The decisions made on rezoning and variance requests tonight will be forwarded to the Commissioners for final action on January 19th. If you wish to address the Board of Commissioners at their meeting, please see Kara Harden over here to obtain a request to speak for him. And we are we're not as formal as the Board of Commissioners here. If we do have a public hearing, we'll ask you to come up and say your piece, give us your for or against in any item, and we'll give you time to at least paint the picture. It's our job to collect information and forward to the commissioners so they can make good decisions for the county. All right, so we have no debate agenda, but we do have unfinished business, major revision. Danielle?
Yes, sir. This item was postponed from the December 17th meeting. We have received a second request from the applicant to postpone this meeting to our second January meeting. So let me know how much of this you want to hear again tonight. We have seen this once before. Do you want me to run through the presentation, or?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't. How you doing?
No.
All right, so the applicant wants to table to the January 21st meeting, if I can get a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to postpone RZ 20-12-04 until January 21st.
Second.
All in favor? Passes 3-0. Table to January 21st. All right, new business. We have, item A is election of officers, and since we have 2 of our committee members are not present, I make a motion from the chair to table the election of officers.
Second.
All right, all in favor? All right, that will pass 3-0. All right, minor waiver presentation, Ms. Danielle.
Yes, sir, this was a minor waiver at 253 Silver Maple Road. This property is zoned R2, single-family residential, and this was approved December 28th of 2020. This is located in the Silver Maple Ridge subdivision off Oakley Perkle Road. It is zoned R2, single-family. And this is the aerial of the site. This is actually the constructed carport. This application related to reconstruction of this structure. He has been in the process of removing it and applied for the new building permit to replace it. And it was caught that it was over the front setback line. We did approve a 10% reduction to that front setback to give him a front setback of 50 feet from the center line. His site plan here. And again, that was approved December 28th, 2020.
All right, thank you. All right, next is individual plats. Mr. Butler?
Thanks. This is a request for an individual plat off of White Oak Road. Really loud all of a sudden. This is for 2 lots of this large portion of property here. This is location off Shoecraft and White Oak. And again, currently zoned RA residential agricultural. And the plat of the property with creation of these 2 lots. The reason you guys are seeing this evening is the property was subdivided back in 2018 through a minor plat process. Any further subdivision requires a waiver of a 5-year moratorium. Staff has no issues with this waiver, and staff recommends approval of this plat.
All right, this is not a public hearing, so we'll move to a motion.
Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the individual plat for White Oak Road Group. Right one?
I second. All right, all in favor? All right, motion passes 3-0. All right, next item is Riley Estate.
This is off of Lewiston Road. It's 11 acres total. It's currently zoned R1. Lot count is 7 total lots. They'll be created with this request. This is location on Lewiston Road and also Meadowlark Lane to the south. And again, the current zoning is R1. Most everything around is R1. It's P1 to the north, and then the S1 down here is a church. This shows the current plat. The parcel B has a minor modification to the south property line. The biggest modifications on parcel A and A1 is the creation of 5 new lots that all meet R1 requirements with septic tanks. Really the only concern for staff is this existing mobile home and 5th-wheel trailer. There's a condition to have those removed prior to approval of the plat. There's also a condition from the health department that kind of goes into what would be required from their standpoint. That does recommend approval with the following conditions. Again, the one from planning is that both mobile home and 5th-wheel trailer must be removed from the parent tract for approval of the proposed plat. That includes staff recommendation.
All right, this is not a public hearing, so we'll go to a motion.
Make a motion to approve with conditions the individual plat for Raleigh Estate.
Second. All right, all in favor? Motion passes 3-0. All right, we'll move on to the public hearing. The first item, Mr. Butler.
This is a request for rezoning at White Oak Road, 4624 White Oak, from RA to S1 for existing church and cemetery. This is the location of the property. This is out of the edge of the county. It's Duffy County on the other side of the road. Shows the location of the property on White Oak Road. Again, currently zoned RA. Pretty much everything around it is as well. This property here is owned by the county as a water tank. Here's an aerial view of the site. So the reason this is coming before you this evening, they're looking to subdivide this piece of property, as we'll see here in a moment, with the cemetery being on one piece and the church being on the other. And it shows the existing site showing the church and also the cemetery itself and the plat as well. This church has a long history in Columbia County. I believe the deed that we had was from the 1800s with the application. This does show the creation of the new parcel for the church and also for the cemetery. According to the applicant, the church is closing down. However, they are looking to maintain the use there for a church or a facility that holds those types of events. And the cemetery will remain as a cemetery with management by the local church members. In terms of future land use, is within the rural character area. Church is totally within this character area. No concerns from staff on that. There are 2 conditions recommended by staff that are more to kind of clarify some things with it. One of the use standards is that graves are supposed to encroach within a 50-foot setback from the property line. That's impossible here. They're already existing. So again, this is the condition there is to allow those to encroach within that setback. Then also, the building setbacks within the narrative are not entirely correct. So again, the building setbacks will be as shown as only provided development plan. And again, that there is no new structure being built here. This is just, it's maintaining status quo. We're just subdividing the property. That's the only reason for the request. That includes staff recommendation.
All right, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak for or against this motion? All right, if not, we'll move to a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve RZ 21-01 with the following conditions.
I second it.
Discussion? All in favor? Motion passes 3-0. All right, Ms. Montgomery, your two.
Yes, sir, this is a request for a rezoning at 3714 King Road from C2 General Commercial to C3 Heavy Commercial. This property is located on the south side of King Road, just off Davis Road in Martinez, and is currently zoned C2 General Commercial, as are most properties around it. You do have the large professional development to the south. To the north, you'll see the self-storage facility that would not currently be considered a C2 use. However, that property does have a conditional use in place for that development. This is the aerial of the site. There is an existing building on this site that the applicants are looking to repurpose for a plumbing company. Plumbing company is considered a contractor's office with storage and requires C3, M1, or M2 zoning, hence the rezoning request tonight. This is a photo of the existing building and from the other road frontage. And the existing site, it does have a buffer on the adjacent property on one side, and some existing vegetation on the other. We'll be hearing the variance request in a moment that's related to this property and bringing it up to code. It was previously vacant for quite a while before the applicants purchased it, so they do have some improvements they have to make. They have been working with an engineer on that, so we did get a quick sketch plan of kind of what they're looking at. We'll go into that a little more with the variance side of it. In terms of future land use, this is within the Martinez Activity Center. This is a mixed-use activity center with kind of that mixed-use, denser, walkable, compact development pattern, providing additional employment opportunities and supporting residential uses. Contractor's office isn't necessarily a primary future land use in this area. Light industrial uses generally get directed to kind of the interstate or the Appling-Harlem areas. However, it is an employment opportunity kind of creator, and it does have some other light industrial type uses around it, with self-storage right across the road. So there's some support for allowing the rezoning in this case, and staff is recommending approval.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak for or against this motion? We'll move to a vote.
Make a motion to approve RZ 21-01-02.
Second that.
All right, any discussion? All in favor? Passes 3-0. All right, also King Road variance.
Yes, sir, this is the companion variance requests for 3714 King Road. They are requesting variances to two sections, one regarding their setbacks and one regarding the buffers. So again, the same property on the south side of King Road, currently zoned C2, and aerial view of the existing site. In regards to the buffer request, part of their request to waive the buffer is due to existing easements and drainage ditches on the property. So you can see the existing drainage ditch noted on this property line and the permanent easement along the south property line. We did have some difficulty tracking down ownership of that easement and purpose. It appears to be a stormwater easement. Likely they would not be allowed to plant within that space, so that's the kind of justification for the buffer variance, is that they can't plant right on that property line due to that existing easement. So they are asking to waive the buffer on the south property line and on the west property line due to the ditch that's there. A couple photos of the existing site. This is the front of the building, and this is that drainage ditch on the west property line. So you can see there is a fairly significant ditch there. These buffer trees that you see are actually on the adjacent property for the funeral home and their parking lot. So technically, the current property owners for King Road don't have really any say in whether those remain, but we wouldn't expect that they would go anywhere. And this is the existing buffer on the south property line, so they do have some existing trees back here. They do obviously have a couple trailers on the site. This is the outdoor storage portion of their contractor's office by our code. So this would be the area that needs to be screened to bring the site into compliance, as they're gonna have to screen that outdoor storage. Portions of that buffer aren't quite as thick, so this is closer towards Executive Center Drive, where the professional building is adjacent to this property. You can see, obviously, it's not a particularly visual buffer. You can see that building. And so what they're looking at doing is putting in their landscaping along King Road and Executive Center Drive and adding the parking spaces that they would be required, actual paved parking. We don't currently see screening for outdoor storage on this plan, or any installation of buffers. Again, they're asking to waive the zoning buffer requirement. That would not waive the requirement for the outdoor storage area. They're aware of that, and based on what I understand, they do intend to buffer around any outdoor storage. Our concerns are primarily with the professional use to the south. That is a fairly dissimilar use, a light industrial and a professional office. So we would like to see that buffer in place on the south property line, obviously to the inside of that stormwater easement. With the current layout of the site and the two adjacent properties, they're adjacent to the parking lot for their funeral home. Waiving the buffer along the west property line at this time is not really a concern. If they do in the future want to add buildings, if they were to, for example, actually build a building on this west side, we would anticipate that they would need to put the buffer in at that time, and we do have conditions speaking to that. The second variance is in regards to the setbacks for this existing building. It is quite simply just too close to Executive Center Drive. So the second variance simply asks to reduce that front setback to accommodate the existing building location. Again, that variance is not a concern. So staff is recommending approval with several conditions, reducing the front setback on King Road for the existing building, any additional structures having to comply with the setbacks for the zoning district, reducing the buffer on the south property line to the 10-foot structural buffer. So that does reduce the required width. It does meet what would be required for the buffering around that outdoor storage that I mentioned. So it's kind of a middle ground between waiving it entirely and requiring some protection for those adjacent professional buildings. And the 20-foot buffer along the west property line would be waived until they add additional buildings or additions to the existing building or additional outdoor storage that would require screening under the use provisions. And that concludes the staff recommendation.
Go back to the overhead picture there. The color one's better for me. Can you just show us where the easement, how much space the easement gives us on this south fence?
So I'm actually going to go back to the plat since it had dimensions on it.
Okay. So
So they had the temporary
saying
easement.
that this, where the second arrow just came up, that's the easement there, not the,
The kind of hexagon pattern is the permanent easement. So that's what they would have to plant inside of. So they would have basically, it looks like it's probably 20 feet that they couldn't touch, and then they would have 10 feet of buffer inside of that.
okay. And then on the western side, is there a mechanism in place that says if they build buildings, they'll put up buffers?
So that is the proposed condition, is that if they add buildings to the site, they would have to put that buffer on the western property line in place. And that would be part of the site plan review process when they came in to apply for permission to build those buildings. It would be part of the site plan
So
review to
there is
require
a
that.
process in place to make sure that that happens.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any questions? All right. This is a public hearing. Is the applicant here? Like to add anything to that? Okay.
I do.
Okay.
If I could ask y'all to clarify one of my conditions, I realize I have a typo on it. The setback request does need to be from Executive Center Drive, not from King Road. So if we
I wondered that. I was
correct
like,
that
what?
in that condition, we would appreciate that.
Felt like a little, right there in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anyone that wants to speak for or against this motion? Move to a vote.
Make a motion to approve with conditions file VA 21-1- front setback and buffers 3714.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Motion passes 3-0. All right, next one is VA 210101.
Thanks. This is a request for a variance to buffers and screening at 3100 Rosewood Drive, currently zoned R2, single-family residential. The request is to allow multiple driveways but within a required buffer. This is location of the property. So Rosewood Drive is off of William Few Parkway, in case you were curious, within the Highland Lakes development. And you can see the rest of the development around it. Again, adjacent properties are a mix of pretty much everything. You got S1 for a church over here. Across the street, you have Whispering Pines, Magnolia Hills and Valley over here. Quite a few things, plus some RA. I mean, you have all kinds of stuff. There's an aerial view of the site. Again, this shows the location of the property. Also the existing site, again, under construction. Also the existing roads and the plat of the property. So the request is a little interesting. We don't get many requests like this. So an amenity area is proposed here. One of the things with a community recreation area, as we call it, is you do have a 20-foot buffer, which is noted here along both sides of the property, I guess residential uses. It's supposed to be a structural buffer that doesn't allow anything to go through it, such as a driveway. So the request here is that you have these 7 lots that will be accessed from the internal alley and parking lot of the amenity area. This creates more of a T&D style development. You wouldn't have do not have any driveways out here or here or here. Very very different from a typical R2 development. We usually see that as part of a PRD or a PUD perhaps. So again, the request is only for these driveways. They're not requesting to reduce it or anything like that. They have provided drawings of the wooden fence that they would have there, evergreen hedges. Again, providing everything to basically protect these two uses, but allow the driveways to go through the buffer itself. This does show the illustrative view of it as well. In terms of building permits, we already have 3 that are in for review right now. These ones here. And also, this one's already been issued. The one that's already been issued, they do have a way to provide access to this. So it's one that they kind of have some flexibility. Overall, we're not really concerned with the driveways going into the property. We do have a condition that kind of holds them to what they've shown us in terms of the buffer itself. What we do have a concern is the fact that the only access for these 7 properties, well, minus this one, I guess we can say 6 and a half, if we're being honest, is going to be off of these 2 roads here. And that's part of, to be able to have a house, to be able to access it, you have to have a real access point. And those would not have that until this is complete. So we do have a condition that no building permits will be issued for those lots until the alleys are completed in compliance with an approved site plan for the amenity area. And again, the condition here as well, wooden privacy fencing and a planned hedge indicating on this plaza development plan will be required and reviewed at site plan review. That includes staff recommendation.
Is the applicant here? Like to come up and give us your name and address and tell us more?
Jonathan Crawford, 884 Willow Lake, Evans, Georgia, 30809. No, Will did a great job with the overall vision for this plan. Like he said, typically, that wouldn't be part of an R2 development, but I think we went back to the drawing board and saw that this really helped provide a nice pedestrian-friendly streetscape and something that we've done in other developments, not only here locally, but outside of the area that's been well received by not only the community, but the residents that are living there. We've had discussions with staff. I think we're in agreement with the recommendation. I think the one condition that we were hoping to get revised related to the condition number 2, tying it to the building permits, we'd like to see that switched over to their certificate of occupancy. My colleague was in touch with Will earlier today. I know what we're trying to avoid here is a condition, where the houses are up and the infrastructure is not in place yet. And so it's from a timing standpoint, we were able to reach out to our civil. They said that they could have this plan ready for submittal within within the week. I think it's 10 days for review, and then we've talked to our site contractor, and he said he can have the infrastructure improvements with regard to having the alley in place within 4 weeks. So that gives us plenty of time from when you're considering what it takes from the time you break ground to actually complete the houses that are there in place. So I think we could alleviate any concerns with regards to having that infrastructure and that approved site plan in place.
If I understand what you said right, that within 4 weeks from today,
4 weeks from getting approval of the site plan, the contractor could have all site work done.
all site work would be done, which means the roads would be in.
The roads, yes, as it relates to getting those alleys in
So
place.
that would give time for the occupancy.
Correct, yeah, by the time, I mean, it's gonna take 3 to 6 months to actually build those homes. So we would have the infrastructures as it relates to those alleys in place well before the homes were complete and they were asking for the final certificate of occupancy.
So you're right now, number 2 says the building permits will not be approved, and can't get started.
That's correct. And so that, of course, is a long window. We'd love to be able to let them go ahead and begin construction. It's going to take them, of course, a while to complete a home and come back for their CO. In that meantime, we'd like to have the infrastructure's improvements being run concurrently with the.
And so make sure we make the motion correctly.
Yeah.
Push it forward. So you're tying the COs to completion of that infrastructure, and so that infrastructure is not complete, not be able to occupy those properties.
That's correct, yes. So I guess as the conditions written, you would just, it says currently the building permits, I think we would just switch it to the certificate of occupancy for the adjacent home shall not be approved. So construction of the alleys is complete.
Wouldn't it be a little hard to get some of the construction equipment?
Got it,
Dirt roads?
Sorry, say that again.
you all right with what he's talking about?
If the applicant is willing to not ask for COs prior to completion of the infrastructure as indicated on the sketch plan, then live with that. I think we just want to make sure that we are not, as the county, put in a position of obviously having CO-ready homes, folks ready to move in, closings ready to occur, and not have the infrastructure done. And I think, you know, with the timeline that's anticipated, it's certainly possible to have the infrastructure done ahead of those individual homes being complete. But
I mean, what if there's delays? I mean, what if
that
there's weather or anything like
that is all solely on the applicant, and I think that's the concern that staff had. That's part of the reason why the condition was written the way it was. But if they're, you know, if they can assure that they won't be asking the county for COs ahead of infrastructure completion, live with that.
And I think we can make that assurance. Like I said, we have 4 preferred builders, you know, they understand that we were coming here tonight with that variance, and that was going to be a clear condition of that moving forward. Of course, we'll be pushing forward on the development side to make sure everything's in place and make sure that's clear from the get-go.
So you got 4 different builders,
Yes, sir.
local?
Yes, sir. That we've used for a number of our developments that over the years.
What are some of the potential obstacles that may come up that would prevent? I mean, you're saying 4 weeks. That sounds like a perfect scenario. And then you're saying to have the infrastructure, and then it takes, would you say 4 months, 4 to 6 months for the completion of the construction?
For homes, for the homes. But from the infrastructure side, really the biggest thing is getting timing for our contractor, for him to mobilize and get all of his equipment there. While we're getting the plans ready for submittal, and then of course they'll be under review for the county, which will take another 10 days. We've already spoke to Gary, which is the largest site contractor in town. Very good about hitting their timelines, which is why we use them. We will, in the process, like I said, we had that conversation today, and he said he's ready to go. He can have a crew there. As soon as we have approval, he'll have everything mobilized to begin that site work and can have it completed within 4 weeks.
I guess my only concern is the unforeseen, or the unknown. You got a family that's paid for a home, you know, they're expecting to move in, you know, they moved from another area, and they're expecting to move in based on what they were promised by the builder. But the county is saying, look, you agreed to this occupancy certificate. And we can't give it to you because you haven't completed that process. Is there a risk that the timeframe is not good?
Yeah, well, I know there's always unforeseen circumstances. Let's use weather, for example, since we're talking about something that may just delay the infrastructure improvements. I think those same delays would impact the construction of that home as well. So if it's setting us back a month, it's probably setting back the home builder back a month as well. With that being said, I think we still make it clear to the home builder that there's a condition tied to this home, and we will reiterate that we have our own residential marketing team in-house. That would be a condition we would be relaying to those agents as well, that, hey, we can, market these properties, but it's got to be clearly understood that they're not getting a CO until everything lines up and we check all the boxes.
Okay. All right. So you're, okay, I'm good with that. Is there any other questions you guys have? Thank you.
All right, thank you for your time.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak for or against this particular motion? Okay, so if we don't have any further comments, we'll take it to a motion.
So we want to change the second one to,
I'll make the motion from the chair that motion to approve with conditions, altering condition number 2 from issuing the permits to,
I think what you want to say is the issuance of certificate of occupancy for the adjacent home. ...
a certificate of occupancy.
versus building permits. So just certificate of occupancy for the adjacent.
All right, can we get that in the minutes without me having to speak it all out? Does everybody understand? Are we good with that? Okay. All right, that's a mouthful. Okay, so from the chair, make a motion to approve with conditions, altering the second condition to replace the building permits with certificate of occupancy. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Motion approves 3-0. All right, there's no text amendments, no legal matters. Any staff commissioner comments?
Welcome to 21. Better than 20.
are you sure?
All we got to hope for.
All right, any public comments? Anyone from the public want to? All right. Well, I don't have any complaints, so maybe I didn't mess it up too bad.
Did well.
All right. Well, good. Well, let's make a motion to end this thing.
So move.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Gone.
All right.